welcome to week number 16 of Pickswise Playbook. I'm your host, Chris Rose, joined as always by Jared Smith and Ross Tucker. And happy holidays, gentlemen. Did you guys receive the gifts I sent? Or no? Ross, did you get it?
I didn't.
No,
Did you get the right address?
I don't know what you're referring to. No. So I'm going to say no.
Okay. So just keep waiting for the knock on the door. I want you to check every day in between now and this date on 2022. And I guarantee you that it should be there at some point.
Okay, good.
My mailman usually comes in the evening, so maybe it's on its way, Chris.
Yeah, probably not. Oh, wait. Are the dogs barking already, Jared?
Dogs are Well, the dogs were barking last week. I finally had a good week. Finally. And both my picks were actually, both my picks. No, I had the Colts. They were a favorite. But the other picks were dogs. So.
All right. So once again, we're dealing with all sorts of COVID situation, which is very fluid. Last week we had games moved to Monday and then a couple on Tuesday, and who knows what COVID Christmas will bring us this year. So we'll have to, everything, right, Jared? Like we have to temper everything that's being said today with the fact that please check the COVID list.
Honestly, I thought last week was tough. The reason why this week is tougher is because every time I see something happen, I get even like it's almost like PTSD from the prior week and prior weeks. It's really, honestly, I think this is the next 2 or 3 weeks until things hopefully settle down. This is probably the toughest, most volatile line movement week we saw last week. And I expect, because we've already seen some news pop across the wire early in the week, that it's going to continue again.
Ross, how you handling it?
I told you guys last week I'm an expert in the COVID futures market. As soon as I see one guy get it for a team, boom, I am on the other team immediately. Yeah. Now there's some risk that they might get those guys back by the game, but it's more likely, it seems like, that they're going to be missing other guys. These are wild times that we live in, unprecedented, obviously. And makes it very difficult, very difficult. I would also say make sure you check your book.
Yes.
Some books, if the date of the game changes, the bet is null. Other books, as long as they play it within 4 days or 7 days, the bet is still on, and they don't care which players are available or not.
No. Okay. Very, very good advice. We appreciate it. So once again, we're here to make your Thursdays, this week Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and heck, who knows, maybe Tuesday and Wednesday more entertaining in your NFL circles. Plus, before we start going through the games here for week 16, a quick reminder from my buddy Jared Smith.
Yes, we are doing a giveaway on YouTube, so make sure to comment your number one best bet. We've been doing this for the last few weeks. Pickswise is going to randomly select a subscribing commenter. Of course, you have to be a subscriber of our YouTube channel. If your best bet wins and you comment on your best bet in the comment section on YouTube, you will be eligible for a $100 prize. Of course, you have to be a Pickswise YouTube subscriber, and you have to get your picks in the comment section by 12:30 Eastern time on Sunday. No cheaters. We don't like cheaters here on the show. Kick you right out.
All right, let's get to it. Week 16, we are off and running. And we will start with the early game on Christmas Day. It is the Browns on a short week heading to Lambeau to take on the only team that has secured a playoff berth through 15 weeks, which is rather remarkable, the Green Bay Packers. Aaron Rodgers, by the way, has only played one game in his career on Christmas Day. It was a decade ago against the Chicago Bears. What did he do? He lit them up. He threw 5 touchdowns on that day. Ross, dare you go against the possible 4-time NFL MVP?
Well, so number one, Chris, you missed a golden opportunity there. Aaron Rodgers lit up the Bears like a Christmas tree a decade ago. He lit them up like a Christmas tree.
Princeton called. They would like their degree back.
Hey, so 2 things on this game, right? Number one, I like the Packers as a teaser leg. I just cannot envision them losing this game. You know, I think the wind is out of the sails of the Browns after they lost that heartbreaker that I was at on Monday evening. Tough loss for the Browns. I just can't envision the Packers with home field advantage, that number 1 seed, the bye on the line on Christmas, ruining the Christmas of all of those Wisconsinites, if that's what they're called, that are at the game. I just don't see it happening. So I love the Packers as a teaser leg. I teased them from -7.5 down to -1.5. I will tell you this again in approximately 48 minutes when we do teaser time on the show, for those of you that are unfamiliar. But I would even say this, now that the line's down to 7, I would still lean Green Bay. I think there's a pretty decent chance that the Packers smash the Browns. I don't like how Myles Garrett was moving around in the second half with that groin injury. That's a huge issue. And I think the Browns, deep down inside, in places they don't care to admit, realize that losing that Raiders game ruined everything for them. I think the Packers might smash them.
Short week, too. So one less day for Myles Garrett to get healthy, of course, this being a Saturday game. There's a few things about this game that were interesting with the line movement. So it opened like 8-9 on Sunday, and we saw it actually move towards Cleveland over the last 24 to 48 hours. And I'm assuming that's, the books are kind of half baking in the fact that Baker Mayfield, no pun intended or pun intended there, might play in this game. Of course, the COVID situation still running rampant with Cleveland, but they lost Takk McKinley. That's a huge loss in that game last week. And I just think in general, if you're going to take the Packers, I would wait to see the quarterback situation for Cleveland, because this line might dip under 7 if it is going to be Baker Mayfield. And if it is, I would probably just bet Green Bay straight up. I mean, I think Ross's teaser leg is fine. I think Green Bay wins this game. They're fighting for that home field advantage spot. But the line action here, because of all the uncertainty for the Browns, you might get a better number later in the week if Baker Mayfield is confirmed as the starting quarterback.
A couple other notes for you. Green Bay is trying to score at least 30 in 5 straight games for the first time in the Super Bowl era. Aaron Rodgers has been humming. It doesn't matter who's playing offensive line, doesn't matter who's playing receiver. And the Browns did get their head coach and play caller, Kevin Stefanski, back. As of the taping of the show, still waiting for quarterback news on Mayfield and Keenum. So it might be Nick Mullins for a second straight week, but we'll see how many guys they do get back.
Yeah. If it is Mullins, I think Ross is going to get a discount on that teaser, because it'll probably go to 10 or 12, 13, somewhere in that range if it is Mullins. So it's kind of a risk. That's the COVID futures game. If you play the line now, it might be Mayfield and you might get a discount on the Packers. If you wait, you might have to, suck it up and take a double-digit number with Green Bay later in the week. It's a very difficult game of roulette.
All right, let's get to the nightcap on Christmas Day, and it's a good one. The Colts, who are coming, they are on the road at Arizona, which is slumping. They've dropped 2 in a row. They still have a hold on first place there in the NFC West, but it is tenuous at best. The Colts are currently the 5 seed. They have won 8 of their last 11 games after an 0-3 start, and Jonathan Taylor's running through everybody, and I don't know how in the world the Cardinals are going to stop him on Saturday night in the desert. Jared, how do you see this one?
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those spots for me where I don't like what I'm seeing with Arizona. I think anyone who watches their games over the last few weeks can tell that they're kind of, sort of, regressing just a little bit. But in general, I think this is a great buy low spot. They were laying 4 last week in this look-ahead line, and now they're a pick 'em. And I want to say this is probably the floor for Arizona. And so that's, as ugly as it may be, we like to buy low and sell high. And I think if we sold on Arizona a few weeks ago, this would be a good time to buy back in. I don't know how they're going to stop Jonathan Taylor. X's and O's wise, I think the Colts have the edge. Frank Wright's been incredible this season. And I think Cliff Kingsbury, they looked frustrated on Sunday. They said after the game they weren't prepared. Kyler Murray says they weren't ready. Those are not things you want to hear in week 15 of an NFL season. But again, the way that these NFL markets move, if the line moves through a key number like this from 4 now down to a pick 'em, it feels like the floor for Arizona. So I don't love it. It's not my favorite play of the week. In fact, it's my only straight bet of the week so far. But I think I'm going to nibble on the Cardinals here and hope that I'm buying low.
I understand everything that Jared just said about the line movement. I also watched the games, and I saw Craig Reynolds run over the Arizona Cardinals. Craig Reynolds from Kutztown University in Berks County, Pennsylvania.
Had to get the Berks County reference.
Who's the best player to ever come out of Kutztown State?
First of all, it's Andre Reed. Yes. Second of all, we haven't called it Kutztown State in like 20 years, Chris.
Well, when he was there, it was Kutztown State.
That's true. That's true. Okay. But it's like 15 minutes from my house. I know a lot of guys that have played there. He's a dude. He's a legit guy, but he's not Jonathan Taylor. And
No.
I don't like what I'm seeing from the Cardinals at all. The Cardinals look like a team that is very upset about DeAndre Hopkins' injury. Kyler Murray, he's not quite the Jay Cutler territory, but he's trying to win the award for worst body language of the season right now.
He was an MVP candidate like 6
really
weeks ago.
You really just did that to him? Seriously?
His body language is not good. And then
But
after the
is this
game we weren't
healthy?
prepared. Hey, Kyler.
Yeah, that was bad. That was
Hey,
bad.
Kyler, how about making sure the guys are prepared? You're kind of the leader and starting quarterback and captain and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't like the vibes from Arizona. I do like the vibes from the Colts. I mean, they just beat the Patriots, and Carson Wentz could not have played worse. Could not have played worse. That said, this is a bounce back spot for the Cardinals. As bad as last week's spot was for them against the Detroit Lions, this is much better. I don't have any play in this game. I think it's a true toss-up game. I got nothing other than the Colts 5-1 against the spread on the road.
Yeah. They are good against the number on the road. I will say that. Frank Reich's a hell of a coach. The Sharps have been on him every week. The line, if you want to bet the Colts, you bet it the second the line comes out, because the Sharps bet the Colts every single week, and they always move the line in their direction. And so if you kind of missed the boat on that early in the week, you're not going to get a good number on Indy, because I don't think they're deserving to – like, if you were going to ask me 6 weeks ago, the Colts are going to be a road favorite against the Arizona Cardinals, that market has flipped completely, but I guess there's good reason for it.
Is it too early for trivia time?
Never. Too early for trivia.
Okay, good. Jonathan Taylor has a chance to have a rushing touchdown in a 12th straight game. That has only happened twice, I believe, since 1950. One was LaDainian Tomlinson. We talked about him a few weeks ago in 2004. The other one happened in 1983. Who did that?
Eric Dickerson.
That is a great, great guess, but it's not right.
Oh, I thought I was going to finally get one. Ross gets these every week.
Kurt Warner, Seattle Seahawks.
That's even a better guess.
Oh,
still not
Penn
right.
State guy. I don't know. That's all I've got from the 80s. I don't have many guys in the 80s on
his offensive line was as famous as he was.
Washington? Someone on the Redskins?
Riggins?
Oh,
Nice.
that was a tag team. That was a tag team, Ross.
Jared, you get some credit for that.
Yeah.
You get some credit for that.
It's the hog mollies.
Truth be told, Jared, I would have come up with it 3 seconds later, but you said Washington first. You know what's crazy is that you knew Washington, but you didn't know the running back.
Well, it would have. I feel like that was like an association. I would have gotten there eventually, probably.
Yeah.
But the first thing that came to mind when he said the offensive line in the 80s, it was the hog, right? The famous hog mollies. That's where the phrase was like born.
Called the hogs, dude.
Just the
Not the hogs. Where did I get hog mollies from?
I think that was a drink.
Get it out of your brain. It's not a thing. They're the hog. And that should be their new nickname, by the way. The Washington Hogs.
Totally agree.
Oh, that's a good one.
Totally agree.
They were a great offensive line. Joe Jacoby, Russ Grimm, Jeff Bostic, Mark May, and
Mark May.
Sharp, who was the other tackle, maybe?
It changed over the years. Lachey at times.
Yeah, he got there a little bit later from
He was the later guy, yeah.
Nasty. Okay. Good. All right, that was fun.
Great job.
Good work, everybody. All right, let's move on to the Rams-Vikings. Both currently holding playoff wildcard spots in the NFC. The Rams are the 5, although they have dreams of winning the NFC West still. Vikings are currently the 7 seed. I hope you all watch that Monday night game against the Bears like this, because that was god awful. All right, guys, what do we have for this one? Anything, Ross?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I would only go Vikings here. I wouldn't lay it with the Rams. I think it's going to be a competitive game. I wasn't enamored with how either team looked in their primetime games Monday night and Tuesday night, other than Cooper Kupp. Not a whole lot stood out to me from either team. But look, it's a big game for both teams, but it's a home game for Minnesota. I think that they're the more desperate team, just try to even get in the playoffs and save Zimmer's job. And they're the one getting the points. So if they lose by a point or two, or even if they lose by a field goal, you push. I could only lean or look to Minnesota here.
I was surprised. So this line opened 3.5. And I was a little surprised that the hook evaporated on Sunday night, Monday morning. Now it's basically 3 across the board. In fact, I'm even seeing some shade towards Minnesota on the +3, meaning you got to pay 15, 20 cents if you want to take 3 points with the Vikings. That does surprise me a little bit. I know the Vikings are at home, but home field advantage has been kind of moot this year. And maybe the short week is tilting the line, a half point. But, the Vikings are on a short week, too. They played on Monday. So I'm a little puzzled by this one. And I would say right now, if I had to bet it, I would take the 3 with the Vikings because I agree. I wasn't impressed with either of the Monday night, Tuesday night primetime teams. The Rams didn't really look great earlier this week, and the Vikings certainly didn't look great. So I was a little surprised by this number. I'm assuming most of the handle will come in on LA. This is a pass for me because I do view it as a toss-up game. But the contrarian in me wants to take the Vikings because it seems like that's where the sharp money is coming in on. Because I was surprised that this hook evaporated. I would have figured the Rams would have been a bigger favorite than 3 points against the Vikings, considering the public perception of both of those teams. But maybe the public perception on the Rams is eroding a bit because they've kind of been up and down. But they're hey, they've won 3 in a row now, so they're starting to figure things out as we get closer to the postseason. So pass for me, but lean Minnesota.
All right, let's get to one of the more interesting games of the week. For the second time in a couple of weeks, we get the Bills and the Patriots. This time it's up in Foxborough. And let's remember what happened on that Monday nighter where the wind was blowing and Mac Jones threw it 3 times and all that sort of stuff. And New England was a 14-10 winner. The winner of this game will lead the AFC East with just 2 games to go. And the Bills, here's a real interesting note. When they win, they win. They have 8 wins this year, all by at least 15 points. I mean, I can't ever remember something like that. It's crazy. Jared, what do you have?
Yeah, the volatility, the variance on the Bills has been the highest of any team this season. And that makes them hard to bet on as a favorite. It makes them a little bit easier to bet on as an underdog. It makes them a lot easier to bet on when you're teasing this number. And I think this is the ideal teaser spot this week. I bet Buffalo at +350 to win the AFC East 2 weeks ago after they lost that game to the Patriots. And I felt that's kind of where the market was telling me that was the time to step in because they were such a heavy favorite to win the division for pretty much the entire season until very recently. But when you look at this game, I see this game playing out in a very similar fashion to the last game that they played. And I think Buffalo was 1 or 2 plays away from winning that game. So you're getting this now medium to low total game through those 2 key numbers of 3 and 7. This is an ideal teaser spot for the Bills. I do think they win this game outright. I'm fine with Ross, coming in on Buffalo. I'm sure he's going to sing their praises in a bit. But I think the teaser is probably the more prudent way to play this game because I don't see the Pats extending this to over a touchdown.
Love the teaser, all over the teaser. Going to tell you even more about it in 32 minutes about how much I love the teaser. That said, I also like the Bills getting the point. I think the Bills are going to win the game. Now, no Cole Beasley is a negative. We know he's not playing because he tested positive and he's unvaccinated, so he's out at least 10 days. So he's not playing. Man, not playing in the biggest game of the year for your team. That's a tough one.
Yeah.
I still think the Bills win the game, though. I think that they will pull out all the stops when it comes to Josh Allen's legs and running. I think Josh Allen will have a somewhat similar performance to how he played against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I think it's hard to beat a team twice. I think it's hard to beat a team twice within 3 weeks or 4 weeks or whatever it is. And I think it's the Bills' time. So again, if they win, you win. If they lose by a point or 2, you still win. I would like it if it was 3 or more, but it's a 1-unit bet for me. It's not like a huge bet, but it's a 1-unit bet because I think the Bills are going to win the game, and you're going to give me 2.5 points. I'll take it.
A little line movement too towards the Bills, by the way. I'm seeing some 2s, so the market does agree that Buffalo early in the week so far sharper side.
Top 2 teams in the league in terms of scoring defense. New England's 1, Buffalo's 2, so don't expect the scoreboard. Well, actually, it'll be the opposite. It'll probably be like 48-45.
Some snow in this game too, perhaps. I mean, you never know. You never know, the way Foxborough can be.
We haven't had a lot of that this year. Have we had any snow games?
Well, we had the one snow game in Buffalo. It was kind of a snow game. It was like more of a wind game than a snow game, but there was snow.
That was a wind game. That was really a wind game.
That was a wind game. Yeah.
Ross, have you ever played in a great snow game?
No, I haven't.
I would imagine they're pretty fun.
No,
especially for the O linemen.
Nothing against
played.
Brown?
There have definitely been flurries. Definitely been snow on the ground a little bit, but not snowing during the game. Freezing rain, but I actually played in a game in college that there was snow on the ground at Dartmouth, Hanover, New Hampshire. There was some snow on the ground.
Yeah, the Dartmouth Browns crew, they're just not as good as the rest of the Ivies, I've heard. All right, Jets and Jags. We talked about at the top of the show the COVID issues, and the Jets got banged around this week. Robert Saleh, the head coach, they got 15 players. As of the taping of this show, it could be more. I mean, this is one of those games where you really have to keep your eye on because it could get moved. We don't know. Let's talk about what we do know. We've got the top 2 picks in the draft that have not improved significantly at all in the second half of the season. One's already gone through a coaching change. The other one is hit and miss. He's been in and out of the lineup because of lack of health. Does this interest either you? Jared, you want to take this?
Jared,
this is my team. I mean, I'll be honest. I wish that they haven't really put together a lot of back-to-back, stringing together decent performances this year. And I just don't see the improvement from Zach Wilson. That to me is the one thing I would have liked to see is even if he started out playing really poorly, at least down the road, are you going to improve? We haven't seen that yet this year. On the other side for the Jags, last week was a weird week for them. And a lot of people thought they were going to play really well in that game. The line moved almost to 6 by game time. Goodness gracious. The Jaguars were almost a touchdown favorite against another National Football League team last week. And it didn't work out well for them. I think they'll play better this week. And again, the line has moved because of those COVID issues for the Jets. But if you can find a 1 or a 1.5 out there and you can move this to Jags plus 7.5, there's worse teaser legs you can have this week. And I know the Jags aren't a team you want to be betting on too much, but I cannot make a case for the Jets to win this game by 2 scores. So to me, a teaser leg with the Jags seems to be about right, but do not put a whole lot of credibility or unit size on this one. It would be a smaller play. Of all the teasers this week, I would say the Jags would be one of the lesser legs for me.
So I'm not going to make the JaredFakeLines.com joke, but I will say, as I'm looking at it now while we record, this game's a pick 'em now.
Yeah.
But yesterday, when I was picking this game, it was Jacksonville getting 2.5. So I'm fine with Jared's teaser up to 8.5. That's a lot of value now. Now you just got yourself 2.5 points of value. And I dislike spending a lot of time talking about these COVID games. I don't really know who's going to be there on Sunday or if they move the game. Both these teams stink. I don't think either fan base should be encouraged about where their franchises are. Other than that, have a great Christmas.
Here's my gift to you. This is the 4th time that we've had the top 2 picks play each other their rookie year as quarterbacks.
Oh, so yeah. It happened last year, right? Did it happen last year? Burrow and 2 years ago then. It was wasn't Burrow's rookie year, didn't it?
No.
Didn't he play? No.
The top 2 picks.
I thought it's like top 2 quarterbacks. I'm sorry.
Yeah, maybe I didn't explain that clearly enough.
Apologies.
Or the Penn State education just wasn't what I thought.
No, it's not. It's been a rough week for the Penn State.
It happened
education.
in 2015. It happened in 98. It happened in 93. So there you go. And by the way, the number 2 pick is 2-1 overall. 2-1.
Something tells me the Jets aren't. I don't think the Jets are winning this game, but maybe that's my skepticism talking.
Okay, let's move to the Oh gosh, Giants, Eagles. Jared, let's clap it out for our guy Ross. Let's clap it out.
I gave him a shout on Twitter last night. I gave him public.
Yeah, Jared gave me a shout out on Twitter for hitting the Eagles over, crush the Packers over, crush the Eagles over. We might have to go back and we need to do an episode after the season where we just replay my greatest hits from week 1 on the season.
Be a short
win total.
episode, right? Just those two would be the only one.
That's on the B side of the Christmas album.
You know what's funny? I don't even remember what my other season win total picks are. I just knew Eagles and Packers. Seriously, I knew Eagles and Packers all year. The Packers number just never made sense to me.
No.
And the Eagles, I was confident. That was not looking good for a little bit there. I'm glad they were able to turn it around.
By the way, if there was ever an award given to a coach who made the biggest midseason adjustment, it's Nick Sirianni, because this team has become a bull of a rushing team.
Yeah.
7 straight games where they've had at least 175 yards on the ground. That hasn't happened since the 85 Bears. Pretty damn impressive. So, yes?
Well, I was just going to say, and they still might not make the playoffs.
But they're in this mix, right?
No, I know, but think about how crazy that is. Like that a team could have 7 games in a row with 175 yards rushing, and they're probably going to get an 8th on Sunday against the Giants and still maybe not make the playoffs. I mean, it's a battle to get that spot.
Well, it's going to be fun the last 3 weeks, but let's talk about this for our audience and Russ, the way you see it, because the Giants, we don't know what they're going to do at quarterback. Mike Glennon was terrible against the Cowboys. They brought in Jake Fromm, and Joe Judge was like, yeah, we had to see what we've got. So now, I don't know. How do you see this?
Well, first of all, they should absolutely start Jake from State Farm. There's no doubt in my mind. Look, we know what Mike Glennon is. We've seen what Mike Glennon is for like 7 teams now. Like, for my personal entertainment value, okay, forget about what's best for the team. I'm going to be watching this game. So can you please put Jake Fromm in just so I can see what Jake Fromm's like as a starting quarterback in the NFL, and I can say he stinks or he's not too bad or, he's actually pretty good. I don't want to watch Mike Glennon. Either way, the Eagles are going to win the game. I think the question is, what's the impact of them playing Tuesday night and again on Sunday, especially with their style of play? The Giants will be refreshed. The Giants defense always comes to play seemingly. So as a result, I would not lay that many points. I would not lay 10, 10 and a half. Some of the numbers I've seen out there wouldn't do it.
So I was at this game a few weeks ago when the Giants won, and it was ugly. Ugly. I don't think there was a touchdown scored in the first half. I think Jalen Hurts threw a red zone pick at the end of the first half. That was just like, I obviously they can't play that bad again, right? And MetLife was all Eagles fans in that game. I mean, there was almost as many Eagles fans as there were Giants fans at that game. So obviously they'll have the full crowd behind them at full throat, as Al Michaels likes to say sometimes. But I expect Philly to play a lot better in this spot. They've actually played pretty well against the Giants over the last decade or so, which has no bearing on this game. But that's why I think they're going to play better in this. I don't know what the impact of the rest will be. That's probably a better question for Ross. But I would be shocked if they're not up for this game, considering what the press clippings they're going to read about the last time these two teams played a few weeks ago. And smash mouth football, I think with the Giants having issues on both sides of the ball control shorten the game. Maybe this is an under game, but I think that this is a great teaser spot too if you want to use one of those fun 10-point teasers, not a 20-point teaser, 10-point teaser. And you get the Eagles down to a pick 'em because I just don't see them losing this game. I don't care.
Yeah, but Jared, the people need to know if you get 4 days off between bets and you get to rest, does that make a big difference for you than when you have 6 days off between betting on games?
I usually only take about 4 minutes off between bets. But so to me, having 4 days off, I would forget how to even place the bet at that point. I'll be honest, I liked what I saw from Fromm. I mean, I know it was very limited time and it was at the end of the game, but he didn't look like he was afraid of the moment, that's for sure. Some of those
times, he's not going to be. I mean, he started as a true freshman in the College Football National Championship.
I'd like to see Jake Fromm. I would think that if Fromm plays, this line probably goes to 11 or 12, maybe 13, and then maybe there's a little bit of value on the Giants.
Really?
Maybe.
You're talking about him replacing Mike Glennon, not Phil Simms.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe it moves a point.
Jesus.
Mike Glennon's been really bad. So maybe it actually goes in the other direction. Actually, I retract that comment. I have no idea where the line's going to move from Mike Glennon to Jake Fromm. But I think Fromm is probably an upgrade over Glennon. Maybe.
Let's talk about another quarterback I'm willing to stick my neck out on the line for.
I knew that was going.
He finally got his first win. And I will say this. We just talked a minute ago about how Trevor Lawrence hasn't improved and Zach Wilson hasn't improved. Davis Mills has actually improved. You can see it when you play. Ross, right? I mean, you can back me a little bit on that.
No question. He was the better quarterback against Jacksonville last week.
Right.
He's played well back-to-back weeks. He doesn't even, I don't even, these next 3 games for him are gigantic. He has a chance to have the Texans say, you know what? Let's give him next year. Let's give him next year.
It's true. So with that being said, he's taking on a Chargers team that once again has got COVID issues. Bosa. We don't know about the availability of Eckler, Corey Linsley, their outstanding center. And this is a team that's smack dab in the middle of a playoff race. They're currently the 6th seed. They're one of a half dozen AFC teams with exactly 6 losses. This is just a huge game for them. And you're thinking, okay, Houston, they'll take care of it. But I don't know, Ross. I don't know. Weirder things have happened to the Chargers franchise over the last 6 to 10 years.
No, I agree. I mean, I don't, I understand why the line has come down. And I think that that's partially COVID related. But, for me, when it's over 10, it's like I'm taking Houston. Under 10 at 9 now is what I'm seeing. It's a stay away. I'd probably lean Houston. They're playing pretty well. They're motivated. They're out there. 9 points. The Chargers, we know Bosa won't play. They got a bunch of other guys on the COVID list. So I would have a lean to Houston. If you really need to play the game, I would play it with Houston.
I've bet on the Texans twice this year, both against the Jags last week and then in week 1. I will not bet on them this week, but I was close. 10.5 was too many. And then now we're at the point where anytime I see any COVID news, I just get really, all right, I want to wait and see what happens because sometimes the line moves too much and then the value's on the other side. So if this does continue to sink towards Houston and it gets down to 8.5, I don't know where the floor is because it wasn't, key position players, although a center is pretty key. Then the Chargers might become a play if this does sink a little bit further. But at 10.5, at 10, I agree with Ross. I think this was a play on the Texans. Davis Mills, his grades, according to PFF, Pro Football Focus, have been higher than Trevor Lawrence this season. He's played better than Trevor Lawrence. He's played better than Zach Wilson this year. So impressive stuff for a guy that was, put in a really tough spot in the offseason. And I think he's handled it really well. And I wouldn't be shocked if the Texans played another good game. They've put together some pretty decent performances this year.
I'll leave you with this. Chargers defense has not been good, and now you're taking away their best pass rusher, too? They're giving up over 26 points per game. Houston can stay in this thing at the very least. They're going to win it? I don't know. But I think they're going to be able to put some points up on the board. We'll see. Let's get to another battle for first place, this time in the AFC North. It's the Ravens on the road. We don't know about Lamar Jackson's status, although Tyler Huntley played very well, almost led the Ravens to that come from behind home victory against the Green Bay Packers. They're in Cincinnati this week. Let's remember, back in week 7, the Bengals took care of business. They handed Lamar his worst loss ever in Baltimore. 41-17 was the final. Cincinnati's defense is playing out of its gourd right now. Jared, how do you see it?
Well, I'll be honest. Huntley's numbers last week were amongst the best of any quarterback in EPA, that expected points added metric that the analytics people really
EPA,
love.
That's not a drink thing, right?
No, it's not.
Explanatory stuff.
It's not an explanatory trend or a predictive trend. That is just a number. Here, let me take a drink here. That's just a number that says he played better than any other quarterback at the position last week. Which is very impressive considering he was put in a very difficult spot against the really good Packers defense. That being said, I don't know what the experts or the odds makers really think of this line because it hasn't moved at all. Open 2.5, look ahead 2.5, it's still 2.5. And I think that's caution because we don't know what Lamar Jackson's status is. We probably won't know until Saturday or maybe Sunday morning. I'm expecting the Ravens probably, I don't know. I'll be honest. Huntley looked good. And I think that if Huntley looked that good, I would probably stick with him unless Lamar's 100%. But it's that gray area that, the odds makers are really struggling with right now. But I do think Baltimore in a teaser, this is another really good teaser leg. It's a low total game. It's a divisional game. This was a blowout a few weeks ago. I don't expect this one to be a blowout. I don't think it matters if it's Lamar or Huntley. I think either of those quarterbacks can keep this close. And I think the Bengals, frankly, were fortunate to come out of Denver with a win. They didn't play their best game. And the Broncos had some quarterback issues as well. We hope Teddy Bridgewater gets better soon. But I think Cincinnati was fortunate last week, and I think the Ravens have a little revenge on their mind this week. I wouldn't mind playing the Ravens straight up, but I really like them in a teaser leg.
So I think Cincinnati wins the game. I think they're the better team. But the Ravens, they are in these games. I mean, these last 3 games, you got the two-point conversion games. Then you have the 2-point loss to the Browns. So I think they are a very strong teaser leg for a lot of the reasons, frankly, that Jared just mentioned. I mean, they're not – I'd be very surprised if the Ravens lost this game by double digits. They know what's at stake. There are certain teams I feel like, Steelers and Ravens among them, that you almost feel like you can count on them for a certain kind of effort. They'll get it. I just think they're too outmanned. I would actually lean Cincinnati laying the 2.5, but I'll take Baltimore in a teaser up to 8.5.
By the way, the Bengals trying to sweep the Ravens and the Steelers in the same season for the first time since 2009. We'll see if that happens.
Wow.
Yeah, that would be something.
Bucks and Panthers. We watched what happened to Tom Brady, who got shut out for the 3rd time in 359 career starts. That includes the playoffs. Just the 3rd time and the first time in 15 years. And now he's lost Chris Godwin for the year. We think Evans is going to be okay. Not going to be with Fournette, it sounds like, for the foreseeable future. They just signed Le'Veon Bell, dust him off, put him in a backfield. The good news for the Buccaneers is that they've got Panthers, Jets, Panthers to finish out the season. But what does that mean for us in the world that we live in right now, Ross, for this game against the Carolina Panthers, who are just horrible?
Well, they're tough to watch. It's hard to watch the Panthers play offensively. Really hard to watch them play. I guess Cam's starting again. Darnold might play. The quarterback rotation is kind of hilarious. It's a great spot for the Bucs in the sense that they're going to be playing much better than they did against the Saints. However, I can't lay that many points when there's no Fournette, there's no Godwin. We don't know what Mike Evans, how productive he'll be. You lose Levante David on the right side. I mean, on the defensive side. I probably would take the Carolina and the points and expect them to be able to stay competitive more than I would lay double digits with a Bucs team that's that beat up.
I don't think you can lay double digits in this game. This is a good 10-point teaser spot. Again, we gave you an Eagles leg, and now we have a 3rd leg here with Tampa Bay during teaser time in a little bit. I think we're down to about 10-minute countdown of teaser time. I will give you the I'll give you the 3rd leg of the 10-point teaser this week. Great nugget by our producer Jack. Brady 50-13 straight up after a loss in his career. To me, that's the only way. That's the only angle that I have in this game. Bucks off of a loss. The division is pretty much wrapped up, but I think that there's still a chance that they can get the 1 seed. So I would expect to see a really strong effort from Tampa Bay. And it was a difficult situation for them last week, losing all of those guys in sequence, basically. Now with Brady having a full week to prepare and he knows what the arsenal is, I think they'll come up with a game plan that will complement that arsenal well. And I don't think, obviously, Godwin long-term is a big deal, but I think in this one-game scenario against the Panthers, who are deprived of any offensive consistency at all, I think they'll figure out a way to win this game. So a 10-point teaser to me seems like the only angle that I have, because Brady off of a loss with Tampa Bay still with a lot to play for in the standings seems like a pretty safe move.
Bucks trying to win the NFC South for the first time since 2007. Bonus trivia time for you. Cam is one of only 4 quarterbacks to have multiple starts and be undefeated against Tom Brady. There's 3 other guys.
Repeat that. That one was a little convoluted. Hold on. Repeat that for me.
So Cam is undefeated against Tom Brady with multiple starts, meaning you can't just be 1-0 against Tom Brady. That doesn't count. You have to have at least 2 starts and be undefeated against him. He's one of only 4 quarterbacks. that has done it. Can you name one other one?
I would say Eli, but he lost that game before the Super Bowl run, so it's not Eli.
That's true. So that would not Eli is correct.
I'm going to say Taysom Hill.
Oh, that's a good question. No, it's good though.
I thought maybe he got one last
Is he recent?
one Sunday
Snuck
night.
one in.
Is he recent? Is it recent? Is he active?
One guy is still on a roster.
Still on a roster.
One guy is still at a game every week, and one guy I think lives in a tree.
Oh man, at a game every week.
This will get me mad because
Kurt Warner. No, Kurt Warner lost to Brady in the Super Bowl. That was a dumb guess.
Okay.
Oh, I don't know.
Nick Foles is the guy that's still playing.
Oh, he beat the
guy who's at a game every week is Brian Greasy.
What?
That's interesting.
Never would have guessed that one.
And the guy who lives in a tree is Jake Plummer.
Jake the Snake Plummer. How about that? That you would have stopped. I don't think Ross had any chance.
I never would have gotten Greasy or Plummer.
No chance.
Never. I should have gotten
eventually.
Foles.
Yeah, Foles we should have gotten.
I thought maybe he had a shot at Foles. I thought that was just that was like the 10-pointer on a 1 to 10 sports trivia.
That was Final Jeopardy. That was like Final Jeopardy there.
Yeah, sorry guys. My bad. I screwed you on that one.
No,
Steelers and Chiefs. Hey, stop if you've heard this before. Kansas City's got some COVID issues. We know they're going to be without their kicker, Harrison Butker. Kelsey, Hill, you got to wait and see on this. Now, this is a huge game for Kansas City and for Pittsburgh, right? If they have any hopes whatsoever, and they're kind of at the bottom of this whole AFC wild card barrel as we speak. But the Chiefs go in as the number 1 seed, but they lose conference tiebreakers to the Patriots and to Tennessee. So this is huge, huge stuff for them. With that being said, Ross Tucker, break it down.
Yeah, I mentioned this earlier with the Jets game. Really tough to break down these COVID outbreak games. Really, really tough. You know, the Chiefs' offense sort of came alive in that fourth quarter against the Chargers. That was encouraging. The Steelers, though, have a way of getting up for games, and it's unbelievable. Like, they have a chance to win the AFC North still, which is just remarkable. And also, they don't want a losing season on Mike Tomlin's resume. I'd probably take the Steelers and the points since it's still more than a touchdown, but I wouldn't take anything. I just don't. That information is good when we're betting. Lack of information, bad. There's a lack of information on this game, so I would stay away.
Yeah, let me write this down. I just want to make sure I get this right. Information is good.
Yeah.
Lack of info is bad.
You good, Ross? All good, Chris? We're good? All right.
Go ahead.
I think this is the hardest game to break down of the week. The motivation elements here are sky high for both teams. This is one of the only games of the week besides maybe that Cincinnati-Baltimore game and probably Rams-Minnesota, where literally a loss could mean, the flip of your season. Pittsburgh would be out. The Chiefs would all of a sudden be back into the division mix, and maybe they go from the 1 seed down to the 4. So I think this is one of those games where there is a lot to lose, kind of like that Bengals Broncos game was last week. The winner of that game probably going to make the playoffs. The loser probably out. And to me, I don't see how you can really break this game down until you get a final roster. I think Pittsburgh's probably going to be healthier in terms of if you count COVID as health in this situation, which we do. Injury-wise, I think Pittsburgh is slightly in better shape because they're going to have those defensive guys back. And they looked okay on Sunday. The Titans kind of coughed that game up, but you got to give credit to the Steelers. I think they forced 4 turnovers. Anytime you force turnovers, it's a fluky stat, but sometimes it can be, rather explanatory. There you go. There's your trend of the day. For how these games kind of work out, I think this is a stay away completely. But if it gets down to 7 on game day and it's just either Tyreek Hill or Kelsey, not both, I would consider the Chiefs at 7. But at 8, 9, it's kind of in no man's land. Maybe you tease the Chiefs, but this is a really tough game to break down without any of this information that we need.
Great. I'll give you another game with lack of information. Washington and Dallas. I can give you this. The Dallas Cowboys can win the NFC East, or not can, they will win the NFC East if they win. Okay, there. That's a fact.
I like Washington. I'm going with Washington. Listen, the Cowboys are offensively challenged, and I know they covered last week, and I had the Giants. I can't believe Glennon threw that interception to Trayvon Diggs, and then Fromm doesn't get him in the end zone late for the backdoor cover. I think Washington will get a bunch of guys back this week. They should, just based on the timing of it, including Heineke at quarterback. And as a result, I think that they're able to keep this game close. The Dallas offense has not played as well since Dak Prescott came back from injury. They just haven't. 10.5
Ross,
is a
that
big
defense
number.
has been unbelievable. 3 straight games of at least 4 turnovers. I know that Jared just said it kind of is a fluky thing, but you're doing something right if you're forcing that many turnovers in a month span.
Correct, but that doesn't mean that they're going to this game, which is why I'm taking Washington. But yes, feels like Randy Gregory, DeMarcus Lawrence, Diggs, Parsons, they're all causing turnovers at an unbelievable rate. But I'm taking Washington. Look, I don't think Dallas is going to score that many points. So if they score somewhere between 20 and 24 points, which is what they've been doing, I think Washington can hit 10 or 14 or maybe even 17. So give me Washington.
I mean, Washington scored 17 last night or on Tuesday night. And I think Dallas's defense is infinitely better than the Eagles' defense. I'm not playing this game. I think this is another decent 10-point teaser spot. But because of that uncertainty and because it might be less than 10 on game day if Washington gets a lot of their guys back, I did not include this in the mega teaser this week. But Dallas's defense, second in weighted DVOA, which is, it tilts towards your recent play. I mean, over the last 6 weeks, you can make a case for the Cowboys having the best defense in football, other than maybe the Patriots. And that is not something that I would have expected heading into the year. Micah Parsons is everywhere. He is inevitable, like Thanos from Avengers. I mean, it's unbelievable how good he is. And now they've got Lawrence back, and you're starting to see that just relentless pressure by this Cowboys defense. And I don't think the Washington offense is really going to be able to handle that. So I think Dallas in a teaser, if this stays at 10 on game day, is a decent spot for a 10-point teaser. If it moves down to 7 or 8, then you move it into a 6-point teaser with Dallas. But I don't think there's any way the Cowboys don't win this game.
Yeah, you saw Micah Parsons get a pass breakup on Kenny Golladay in the end zone.
He's everywhere.
That's pretty damn impressive for a guy that size to be covering 25 yards downfield, a wide receiver. All right, Dolphins and Saints both check in at 7-7. The Dolphins are currently the 11 seed, the Saints the 9 seed. Miami's looking for its first 7-game winning streak since 1985. A lot on the line. It's not always the prettiest football with these two teams, but with so much riding on it, Jared.
Great teaser spot for Miami. The Saints offense is inept. And I think this is the lowest total game maybe of the season. I'm seeing 38 now at Circa, 38 and a half at Westgate. I mean, this is the ideal teaser game. Anytime the total is low, the points matter more. And you move this from 3 to 9. I was actually surprised. I saw a little bit of action on New Orleans. I saw them being the shaded side on the line early in the week. I don't have a whole lot to say about the Dolphins offense, except I hope Jalen Waddle comes back. I think they did what they had to do against the Jets last week. They weren't overly great, but they were efficient. Early in the game, Tua wasn't efficient, but they were coming off the bye, so I give them a pass in the first quarter, first half. They played better in the second half of that game. The pick six was it was an interesting moment because it was one of those throws. The second he made it, you're like, no! And then all of a sudden the Jets are in the end zone tying the game. But then they answered right back and they scored a touchdown on the ensuing drive and they won the game by a touchdown. So I think the Dolphins are live in this game. And I think the Saints' lack of scoring makes it an ideal teaser spot to get it up to through that key number of 3, through that key number of 7 in the lowest, one of the lowest total games of the year.
I like Miami. I like Miami getting the 3. Look, I think it's a toss-up game. We've talked about this previous weeks. Toss-up games where I get 3 or more, I'm taking it. Think about the math, right? If I think it's a 50-50 game, then 50% I win. And then if they lose by 1, lose by 2, and even if they lose by 3, you push. The numbers, I believe, are in my favor. Plus, this happens all the time with the Saints. They beat the Bucs. Everybody's like, oh, man, the Saints, man. Oh, the Saints, they beat the Bucs. No, that's just the team they beat. They're not actually really good. They're just good against the Bucs. So I am going to go ahead, and I'm going to take the Dolphins. I think they win the game outright.
All right, a couple of quick notes. While we've been taping, 2 things have happened. One with the Panthers, Cam Newton will start. Sam Darnold is going to get some action.
Oh,
so
my
once
goodness
again, we're back to
gracious.
this whole rotating quarterbacks BS that the Panthers are doing. Like we're having auditions here in Week 16. Ridiculous.
With guys that are veterans, no less.
Right.
Not even rookies. Darnold and Newton. If you don't know what you're getting from those 2 guys by now.
Very quickly, does that affect either of your plays on the Bucs-Panthers game?
I like the Bucs more. I like the Bucs more every time Sam Darnold's name gets mentioned in a game.
Okay.
I mean, period.
Awesome.
End of story.
No.
Okay.
Doesn't make a difference. Not one of those things make a difference to me.
The Bucs are going to win regardless of who plays quarterback, I think, for the Panthers, because none of them are as good as Brady.
I thought it was going to be Cam and with Darnold playing a little bit. So, no, that does not make a difference.
All right. The other big thing is that another head coach just tested positive. That's Nick Sirianni of the Philadelphia Eagles. Not officially ruled out for Sunday, but boy, midweek, now you got to wonder. Passing game coordinator Kevin Patullo.
Wow.
Patullo? Ross?
I think it's
Patullo. He would be the acting head coach making the game time and game situation decisions. Does that affect?
Not good. It's not a positive.
Not a positive.
Well, it is a positive.
I don't think it's a
Job.
negative on the line, but it's not a positive in the game flow for sure.
Sirianni's changed the team midway through the season. They've been much, much better since they realized they're a running team.
Okay.
I'm not seeing any initial line movement here. Again, it just broke as we're literally recording this. But my screen has not lit up at all over the last few minutes.
Well, don't worry. COVID operators are standing by to answer your question at some point. All right. Ross, Jared, what time is it?
Teaser time!
Teaser time. For those of you that don't pay attention earlier in the show, this segment's for you. Look, I talked about earlier, Jared, the 3 I like this week. Baltimore up to 8.5. Buffalo up to 8.5. Green Bay down to 1.5. So you can either pair a couple of those or do a round robin like I do, where it's Baltimore, Buffalo, Baltimore, Green Bay, Buffalo, Green Bay for 3 of them. Those are my legs.
Round robins are real nice. I did one last week, and we basically swept the board, with the exception of the Packers, which pushed. So that teaser pushed, but the rest of them all hit. Round robins, if you have 3, I think is a very effective way to play it. If you have 4, it can get a little clunky because you have to, kind of double your exposure there. I have 4 legs this week in my 6-point teaser, but I'm throwing out the Jags because the uncertainty with the Jets line, we don't know where that one's going to close. So I think I would round robin my 3 teasers this week. Baltimore 8.5, Buffalo 8.5, and we'll give you the Dolphins getting up to +9. And then the mega teaser this week, I'm going to throw Buffalo in there to 12.5. And that's kind of the mystery leg that I didn't tell you guys during the Bills segment. But if we like the Bills at 8.5, I don't see why they can't cover a 12.5 number either. In fact, I hope they do, because I want the Bills to win this game outright. But also, we gave you these 2 10-point teaser legs to pair with the Bills, Eagles, and Bucks. Although the Eagles leg, we just broke the news of Sirianni, so who knows where that number is going to go. I wouldn't expect it to move too much. Coaching issues don't really move the line, as we've seen in prior weeks. But teaser time, we love it, guys. Hopefully it's a success like it was last week.
Absolutely.
You know what else I love? I love when all the primetime games are good. Like, think about
That'd be nice.
Monday night is Dolphins Saints.
Yeah.
Washington Dallas Sunday night's good. The 2 Saturday standalone games, Cleveland and Green Bay, Indianapolis and Arizona.
Yeah.
And tonight's game.
Tonight's game's really good.
Titans hosting the Niners. By the way, Jared, are you going to be able to get your 10.5 Niners future bet? That's still alive.
It's not only alive, but they'd get the Rams in the last week of the year. and we'll see what the situation is playoff-wise then. I would assume, although to be honest with you, the Cardinals have kind of been faltering. That division is alive and well. So I don't know if the division will be clinched by week 18. But if they beat the Titans this week, I'm very confident they'll beat the Texans at home next week. It could come down to that last week against the Rams. So, I'm holding out hope for that one. I'm seeing 9.5 as their win total right now on FanDuel, heavily juiced to the over at like minus 200, which means they'd only have to win 2 out of the last 3 games. And I think San Francisco has been playing. All the odds makers I talk to say they're the dark horse team to bet on if you want to still lay a futures wager on one of these teams to win the Super Bowl. That's kind of outside of the top 8 teams that we talk about mostly.
They're really interesting. They are really interesting because Shanahan is he says, whoever's healthy there in the backfield, we're going to run with you, right? Elijah Mitchell about a month ago was doing it. Debo, keeps having a rushing touchdown every week. Jeff Wilson Jr., he always pops like once or twice a year. He had a 100-yard game. So now they're on the road against a team which is fumbling literally kind of their season away, right? They've had 13 turnovers in the last 4 games. So, Ross, do you have something that interests you tonight?
I could only lean Tennessee, getting 3.5. I think that's a little bit of an inflated line to me. I mean, the game's in Tennessee. Their defense is playing well. They obviously need the game as well. So while I think the Niners will win the game, I think the Niners are the better team. I would not lay 3.5. I never lay 3.5. I just don't like laying 3 in the hook like that. So I would never lay that. I do kind of like the under in this game.
Oh, you don't play a lot of totals.
Run the football a lot. The total's low. It's 44.5, but the Titans can't score. And I don't think the Niners are going to score that much against the Titans defense either. It's going to be a lot of running for both teams, keeping the clock moving. So if I had to play in tonight's game, if you want to, it would probably be getting the points for the Titans and the under.
Line value says Titans for sure.
Before you go, that's an interesting – I just want to throw this stat in there. Derrick Henry, when he was starting, they went 6-2. They averaged 28 points per game. Since he went and had surgery, they're averaging 18 points per game. So that's just something to kind of give a little.
We would call that a predictive trend.
I don't know if that's drinkable.
No, it's not. These days, I feel like we've exhausted that joke, right? But the pick'em,
Wow, I didn't know you became a writer on SNL.
I've got a second life that you'd have. It would shock you, Chris. No, I think that I think the line value definitely says Tennessee here. This was a pick'em last week. That was a tough game that they played on Sunday. They could have won that game. I'm assuming if they would have won that game on Sunday against the Steelers, this line maybe would have only gone to 2 or maybe 3. I don't think it would have pushed through the full 3.5. But it has, and I think it's given you just a hair of value on the Titans. I'm not playing it. Again, Ross, thank you for plugging that Niners win total. I am basically on the Niners money line for the last 3 weeks of the year. It's basically a money line parlay. We need the first leg to hit tonight. I think their running game has been fantastic. So I was reading an article this week that said Deebo Samuel doesn't even take part in the running back drills. Like they have these special plays for him, but when the receivers are doing their drills, he's with the receivers, and then the running backs are doing their drills, and then he just shows up and knows this zone blocking or this zone running scheme like the back of his hand. It's remarkable how gifted of an athlete he is. And as long as he's in the backfield, the Niners are one of the most dynamic offenses in the NFL because you just don't know. He's like the queen on the chessboard. He can go in any direction. And I think Jimmy Garoppolo was made for this offense. Say what you want. I know he's taken a lot of heat in his career, but when this offense is humming and Debo's in the backfield, I don't think there's a quarterback better than Jimmy G in the league right now to run it because he's really good at the West Coast system, and I think he just kind of vibes well with Kyle Shanahan. So I think this Niners team is hot, and the defense needs to play a little better, but I think they can definitely go into Nashville and get a win tonight.
All right, there is going to be some scoring tonight. Maybe not a lot, according to Ross, but somebody is finding the end zone, right?
Yes, they have to. In fact,
you would think.
Here's what I'm going to do. Here's what I'm going to do for you guys, okay? We're going to give away $100 to a lucky Pickswise Twitter follower if it's either me or Jared. Give out somebody and it hits, which, by the way, has been awesome.
We were crushing it. Last week we went 3 out of 4 with our picks.
All you have to do is make sure you follow Pickswise on Twitter @Pickswise and retweet. You must retweet. Follow and retweet. You can go first, Jared. I feel like I always steal your guys, so go ahead.
I'll be honest. I kind of was hoping that you were going to go first because I'm good. I'm getting really good at predicting who you're going to bet on. But I will. I mean, I just sung his praises, so how can I not take Debo? Minus 105 actually is a pretty decent price for a guy that is the weapon of this team. I know Kittle's been pretty solid too, but to me it's Debo or bust. So I'll go Samuel for my Niners pick.
For the Niners, I'll go George Kittle because standalone game, everybody's watching. That guy's a baller. For the Titans, I think you have to go Dante Foreman. I mean, he's the guy. So, and by the way, he's been impressive. We talked about Craig Reynolds, talked about Duke Johnson. Dante Foreman's been impressive. So I'll go Foreman.
Yeah, I mean, as much as Derrick Henry is, important to this offense, I actually think the running game has been relatively serviceable with Foreman. But I think for my Titans pick, I'll be honest, A.J. Brown is really impactful. And, he got activated from IR this week. I don't know if he's going to play. We'll see. But if he does play at plus 135, I think that's a really good number on A.J. Brown, especially for a Niners defense that's been in the secondary a little maligned this year.
Very good. We wish everybody luck in that territory. Gentlemen, I want to wish you a happy holiday.
Thank you. You too.
Yeah. What do we got here? Ross, big plans? Are you calling any extra games or anything?
No. I was offered the Christmas games, but couldn't do it. My daughters are 8 and 9. I'm not missing that.
Oh, he's a family man.
I don't know how many more we got left with Santa being real. So I'm not going anywhere. I'll be watching on TV.
Zip it, pal. Come on now.
I will add one thing. If you don't, or if you haven't yet, please subscribe to this lovely show that we do every week in podcast form. We know the YouTube version of it's great, but we do have the Pickswise Playbook podcast on Spotify and Apple. I failed to mention that earlier in the show, but I wanted to mention that now because the app as well is a great way to get tons of picks, not only on the NFL, but also on college football, horse racing. We're up like 200 units in horse racing this year. It's crazy. So you've got Spotify, Apple podcast version of the show, and of course the Pickswise app. Very impactful for all of your picking needs.
Are you guys getting any gifts this year?
I got a puppy. Does that count?
Hell yes, it does. What's the puppy's name?
Mistletoe, which is super Christmassy and cute.
Okay, that's great for about a week a year.
I didn't name the puppy. It was given to me as Mistletoe. Maybe I'll change the name. Yeah, any suggestions? Underdog, maybe?
Okay, stop. So when did you get the dog?
Yesterday, 2 days ago.
So
literally,
the name hasn't stuck yet.
No, he doesn't know what's going on. He's still pooping all over the house.
Well, yeah, but okay, go with a name. No, we're not going Mistletoe.
Okay.
I wish I'd known this at the beginning of the show. I would have thought about it more. But now
should I go Lasso? Yeah. I love Ted Lasso. It's like my favorite show on TV, besides Pickswise Playbook.
Teddy? Toey?
Teddy. That's not bad.
Teddy's not terrible. It's hard to name dogs like real human names, though, sometimes, but Teddy's not a bad one. Theodore?
Maybe next week we'll have a seance about what we want to name I'll have a naming ceremony.
Okay.
Baby naming. Puppy naming.
Ross, are you getting anything that you know of?
Chocolate-covered pretzels from my mother-in-law every year. My favorite.
Oh, my God. How long do those last? What's the over-under?
About a day. That's about a day.
I'll take the under. All right, guys. Have fun this week. We know it gets a little frustrating with the COVID list. Most important stuff is that we got to try and stay healthy. All of us, let's take care of ourselves and each other, as Jerry Springer used to say at the end of his shows. With all that being said, enjoy it. We've got football tonight. We've got it Saturday. We've got it Sunday. We've got it Monday. Who knows after that? But we will certainly see you next week as well. So for Jared Smith and Ross Tucker, I am Chris Rose. Now, everybody, in unison, let's say it together. Go
win some dough.
See you guys.